Okay, today we will discuss on the topic antidiarrheal drug. Antidiarrheal drug. Okay, topic, our part of this topic is already covered by Dr. Kyushu Saha. By Dr. Kyushu Saha. Okay. Now, so a brief introduction of the a brief recap about the oral rehydration solution. Oral rehydration solution. I think you know about that well. So actually, what is the diarrhea? Diarrhea is the it is the disease of the GIT that commonly occurs among the children. That is characterized by, or that is defined as the passage of more than 3 loose stool in 24 hours. Frequency of more than 3 loose stool in 24 hours. That is called the diarrhea. Okay, and the mortality because of the diarrhea. The cause for the mortality because of the diarrhea is the dehydration. Dehydration is the cause of the dehydration. Dehydration is the cause of the mortality or the death that happens because of the diarrhea. So, what is the pathophysiology of the diarrhea? In simple two sentence, we can say the pathophysiology of the diarrhea is number one, increase fluid and electrolyte secretion. Increase fluids and electrolyte secretion from the intestinal membrane. From the we can say intracellular cells to the intestinal membrane to the intestinal lumen. Okay, and the second is the increased peristaltic movements. Okay. So I will repeat it again. The pathophysiology of the diarrhea is number one is the increased fluids and electrolyte secretion loss from the body. That is the secretion from intercellular cell to the extracellular cell and from the extracellular region towards the lumen, intestinal lumen. And second is the increased peristaltic movement. Okay. Now, so what should be the objective? What should be the objective of the antidiarrheal drugs? What should be the objective of the antidiarrheal drugs? The objective of the goals of the objective of the antidiarrheal drug should be the number one, to reduce the fluid and electrolyte, to reduce and to prevent the fluid and electrolyte secretion, and the second is to reduce the peristaltic movement. That should be the goals and the objective of the antidiarrheal drugs. The most commonly used drug for the diarrhea is the oral rehydration solution. That you know about that oral rehydration solution. The most common drug for the treatment of the this diarrhea is the oral rehydration solution. You know about that. I think this portion you know about it. So beside oral rehydration solution, there are the other drugs also which are used for the treatment of the diarrhea, but less commonly. The most commonly used drug is the oral rehydration solution, and the main objective of the use of the oral rehydration solution for the treatment of the diarrhea is to reduce or to prevent or to inhibit the fluids and the electrolyte secretion. Okay. So we will discuss about the other drugs which are used for the treatment of the diarrhea. So other drugs which are used for the treatment of the diarrhea. So classification. This is just the classification. They are the four drugs. Okay, they are the four class of the drugs. They are most commonly used drug is the oral rehydration solution. Okay, and the objective of the oral rehydration solution is to prevent the fluids and the electrolyte secretion. And the other drugs also which are used less commonly for the treatment of the diarrhea. In certain condition, they are only used. So number one drug is the opioid agonist. The drugs that comes from the opioid agonist are the loperamide and the diphenhexylate. Okay. Second is the anticholinergic drugs, hyoscamine and the dicyclomine. Third drug is the absorbent drug. That is the bismuth, salicylates, and the other drugs are the probiotics and the prebiotics. And the one zinc tablet is also there. We will discuss about that. So we will discuss about these drugs in detail in coming slides. Okay, this is just the classification of the drugs which are used for the treatment of the diarrhea, but the less commonly. Okay. Now the opioid agonists. There are the two drugs in the opioid agonist, loperamide and the diphenhexylate. Okay, opioid. When we say the opioid, what is the opioid? Opioids, they are the centrally acting analgesic. We will discuss about that as a centrally acting drug in detail in the central nervous system. But here, the opioid, it doesn't act on the central nervous system. They act on the GIT smooth muscle. How they act on the GIT smooth muscle, we will discuss about that. Okay. Mechanism of action of the opioid agonist. Okay. So what is the mechanism of action of the opioid agonist? So number one is, okay, they act on the two receptors which are present in the GIT, and they are the agonist. They are the agonist. Okay, first of all, they are the agonist. Okay, so they act on the two receptor. One is the mu receptor, and the second is the delta receptor. Mu receptor and the delta receptor, they are present in the GIT smooth muscle. They are present in the GIT smooth muscle. So what is the role of the delta opioid receptor? When the opioid agonists, they act on the, sorry, mu receptors, so what will happen? They release the, okay, they activate the receptor. When these mu receptors are activated, that is the agonist effect. So what will be the result? Inhibition of the release of the acetylcholine. Inhibition of the release of the acetylcholine. When the acetylcholine will be released, inhibited, what will happen? Less number of acetylcholine will bind to the muscarinic 3 receptors which are present in the GIT smooth muscle. So what will happen? That will reduce the peristaltic movement. That will reduce the peristaltic movement. As I have discussed earlier, there are two objective of the, there are the two objective to treat the diarrhea. Number one is the to reduce the peristaltic movement, and second is the to inhibit the fluid and the electrolyte secretion. Okay, now, so mu receptors, agonist effect on the mu receptors which are present in the GIT smooth muscles will inhibit the acetylcholine release. When the acetylcholine will be released, what will happen? Activation of the muscarinic receptor by the acetylcholine will be inhibited. So there will be the reduced peristaltic movement, and when the peristaltic movement will be reduced, so diarrhea will be controlled. Okay. Second is the delta receptor. They act on the delta receptor which are present in the GIT intestinal membrane. So what will happen? There will be the inhibition of the fluid and the electrolyte secretion. There will be the inhibition of the fluids and the electrolyte secretion. This is the mechanism of action of the opioid agonist. Number one is the agonist effect on the alpha mu receptor. Agonist effect on the mu receptor will inhibit the acetylcholine release. That will inhibit the muscarinic activation in the GIT smooth muscle. That will inhibit the peristaltic movements. Similarly, the delta receptor agonist will inhibit the fluid and the electrolyte secretion. These are the mechanism of action of the opioid. Among the opioid agonists, the most commonly used drug is the loperamide. Loperamide. The most common drug is the loperamide, which is the over-the-counter drug. You know about the over-the-counter drug, no? So over-the-counter drug are those drugs which are given by the, which are dispensed or given by the pharmacy without the prescription of the doctor. That's called the over-the-counter drug. So loperamide is the most commonly used opioid agonist, and that is also the over-the-counter drug. And this opioid agonist minimum or do not cross the blood-brain barrier. We know that the opioids, they are the centrally acting analgesics, so they crosses the blood. Generally, they crosses the blood-brain barrier. Other drugs, they act on the mu and the delta receptor which are present in the central nervous system, that produces the centrally acting analgesic effect. But this opioid agonist, they do not crosses or minimum crosses the blood-brain barrier. So because of that, what will happen? There will be the no or the minimum centrally acting analgesic and the addiction property of this loperamide and the diphenoxylate. Got the point? Okay. Minimum or do not cross the blood-brain barrier, so that there is a no or the minimum centrally acting analgesic and the addiction property by this opioid agonist. Opioid agonists. What are the indications? So commonly they are not used. In first line of drug for the diarrhea. Traveler's diarrhea. They are the drug of choice for the traveler's diarrhea. So what is a traveler's diarrhea? Traveler's diarrhea. So traveler's diarrhea. We can say that if the person from the developed country, like America, European countries, if they travel to the South Asian countries and the African countries and the Caribbean countries, where the environmental hygienic condition is worse comparing to their country, or the personal hygiene is worse compared to their country, what will happen? They will develop the diarrhea. After drinking the water of the South Asian countries, after eating the food of the South Asian country. That is called the traveler's diarrhea. If they visit from their country and they stay there for longer duration, like 15 days or the 1 month or more than that, they will develop few of them or some of them will develop the diarrhea. That's called the traveler's diarrhea. Or sometimes they come to the South Asian countries and they return shortly, and again they develop the diarrhea there. That is also called the traveler's diarrhea. Okay, this is a drug of choice in the traveler's diarrhea. Okay, got the point? Now the adverse drug reactions. We know that there's a minimum of the no this opioid agonist that crosses the blood-brain barrier in minimum amount or no. But if they are used for the longer duration or the higher doses given, sometimes they may produce the CNS effect and the dependence. CNS effect and the dependence. That is the adverse drug reaction of the opioid agonist. Generally, that do not process, but still they process the minimum amount of the blood-brain barrier. So when they are used for the longer duration or for the higher doses, sometimes they may produce the CNS effect and the dependence. These are the opioid agonist adverse drug reaction. I think everything is clear. Everything is simple. No, should I continue? Now the anticholinergic. So by a term we can say the anticholinergic. What does that mean? It inhibits the peristaltic movement by inhibiting the parasympathetic activity. Okay, anticholinergic. So there are the two drugs, hyoscyamine and the dicyclomine. Hyoscyamine and the dicyclomine. Hyoscyamine and the dicyclomine. There are two drugs which are used as the anticholinergic. Okay. So what is the mechanism of action? So anticholinergic, we can say they inhibit the release of the acetylcholine release. So there, what will happen after inhibition of the acetylcholine release, inhibition of the binding of the acetylcholine to the muscarinic receptors which are present in the intestinal smooth muscles. So there will be the inhibition of the inhibition of the intestinal smooth muscle contraction that inhibits the peristaltic movement. If the peristaltic movement will be reduced, so what will happen? There will be the control of the diarrhea. Okay, so this is the anticholinergic effect of the, this is the anti-mechanism action of the anticholinergic drug. Absorbent drugs. Okay, absorbent drugs. Bismuth subsalicylates. So when we say the absorbent, what does that mean? They absorb. What they absorb? They absorb the fluids and the electrolytes. So when they absorb the fluid and the electrolytes, what will happen? There will be the inhibition of the fluids and the electrolyte secretion in intestinal lumen. There will be the inhibition of the fluids and the electrolyte secretion in intestinal lumen. Okay, bismuth subsalicylate. I think we have discussed about this drug in peptic ulcer also. Okay, in peptic ulcer also, that is the this mucosal protective. But here the role of this bismuth subsalicylate is different. They act as the absorbent. So what is the mechanism of action? They has the absorbent activity of the fluids and the electrolytes. They have the absorbent activity of the fluids and the electrolytes. So because of what will happen? So fluids and the electrolyte will be absorbed. So fluids and the electrolytes will be absorbed, and the inhibition of the secretion of the fluids and the electrolyte into the intestine. That is the mechanism of action of the, that is the, they increases the absorbent activity by the by the intestinal membrane. So the fluids and the electrolyte secretion will be reduced. That is the mechanism of action of the, this absorbent drugs, bismuth subsalicylase. Okay. Indication of the absorbent drugs. Okay, absorbent drugs. So absorbent drugs, bismuth subsalicylates. Indications: traveler's diarrhea. I have already discussed earlier what is the traveler's diarrhea. Okay, so indication is the traveler's diarrhea. Okay, what are the adverse drug reaction? Because of the chemical compound of the bismuth subsalicylates, they produces the black tongue. Okay, and the passage of the black stool. But they are not the troublesome adverse effects. These adverse effects will be subsided or will be relieved as soon as the drug will be stopped. Okay, so black tongue and the passage of the black stool, that is because of the chemical compound. That is the chemical compound of the, that is because of the chemical compound of the bismuth subsalicylase. Okay, black tongue and the passage of the black stool. Now the other drugs, probiotics and the prebiotics. Okay, these are the important drugs, probiotics and the prebiotics. So okay, we will discuss about one by one. Probiotics. So what do you mean by the probiotics? Okay, number one, when we say the antibiotics, what does that mean? Antibacterial, no? Antibacterial. So when we say the probiotics, what does that means? They are the bacteria. Bacteria that becomes the activate into the within the body. Probiotics. So antibiotics, what is the antibiotics? Antibiotics means antibacterial. When we say the probiotics, what is the probiotics? They are the bacteria. So probiotics, actually they are the bacteria. Why they are the bacteria? The bacteria is given to the human body. They are called the probiotics. Okay, bacteria are given to the human body, that are called the probiotics. So generally we know in GIT tract, normal bacteria are present. Which are responsible for the digestion of the food. which are responsible for the digestion of the food. But what will happen during the diarrhea? If the diarrhea is persistent, if the diarrhea is continuous for the more than 7 days and the 10 days, what will happen? Those normal bacteria which are present in the GIT, they are lost from the, they are excreted outside the body. They are excreted outside the body during the passage of the loose stool. So we need to give the bacteria exogenously. We need to give the bacteria exogenously. We need to give the bacteria exogenously to replace the normal bacteria of the GIT, to replace the normal bacteria of the GIT. Okay. So basically, this can be done by either by giving the natural foods. So what is the natural foods? Yogurt. What is the natural food? Is the yogurt, because the live beneficial bacteria that are naturally produced by the fermentation of the food called the yogurt. So in the yogurt, fermentation process occurs. That fermentation process will produce the live beneficial bacteria. So this live beneficial bacteria, they are responsible for the, they are required for the digestion of the food. Okay. So this is the, so what is the probiotics? They are the bacteria, or the microorganisms, we can say, which are required for the normal digestion of the food in human body, which are lost during the diarrhea. So we need to replace the bacteria within the human body, either by giving the yogurt, either by asking the patient to eat the yogurt, because in yogurt, what is the fermentation of the bacteria will be there. So live beneficial bacteria are present in the yogurt, which are needed for the digestion of the food. Okay. So that is the probiotics naturally. And other than that, commercially prepared drugs are present. Commercially prepared drugs are present, or the tablets are present, that contains the bacteria which are Lactobacillus acidophilus, Lactobacillus sporogenus, and the Bifidobacteria and the Streptococcus thermophilus. These are the bacteria which are present in the human body, GIT, which are required for the digestion of the food. Okay. So they are the Lactobacillus acidophilus, Lactobacillus sporogenus, Bifidobacteria, and the Streptococcus thermophilus. Okay. Is that clear? What is the probiotics? Any confusion?
No, sir.
Okay. So in simple language, we can say the probiotics. Probiotics, they are the bacteria. Why the bacteria is given to the human body? Because naturally in human body, the bacteria are present, normal flora, the bacteria are present, which are required for the digestion of the food. What are those bacteria? Lactobacillus acidophilus, Lactobacillus sporogenus, Bifidobacteria, and the Streptococcus thermophilus. During the diarrhea, if the diarrhea passes for the 10 days or the more than 10 days, what will happen? Loss of the bacteria during the diarrhea. So we need to replace the microorganism. How that can be done? Number one, by asking the patient to eat the yogurt, because in yogurt, because of the fermentation process, those bacteria are present in the yogurt. So by taking the yogurt, the bacteria are replaced in the human body, in the GIT tract, and also the commercially prepared drugs can be given that contains those bacteria which are the Lactobacillus acidophilus, Lactobacillus sporogenus, Bifidobacteria, and the Streptococcus thermophilus. Okay. Now, what is the prebiotic? So, probiotics are the bacteria. But what is the prebiotics? For the same reason, probiotics and the prebiotics are given for the same reason, which I have already discussed in probiotic topic. But what is the prebiotic? Prebiotic, that induces the growth of the bacteria in GIT tract. They induces the prebiotics are those drugs that induces the growth of the bacteria. Probiotics themselves are the bacteria, but the prebiotics that induces the growth of the bacteria that is required for the normal digestion of the foods. What are those bacteria? Lactobacillus acidophilus, Lactobacillus sporogenus, Streptococcus thermophilus, and the Bifidobacteria. So how that can be done? By two ways. Again, naturally, by eating the non-absorbable foods fibers like the banana, dry garlic, and the dry onion, that induces the growth or the activity of the beneficial bacteria in the gut. Okay. Or secondly, the commercially prepared drugs are present, which are that contains the extracts of the those food fibers like the banana, dry garlic, and the dry onion, that induces the growth of the bacteria or activity of the bacteria in the GIT tract, which are required for the digestion of the food. That is the basic difference between the prebiotics and the probiotics. Probiotics themselves are the bacteria, where the prebiotics that induces the growth of the bacteria. Now the lactase. What is the lactase? Okay. Lactase is the enzyme. What is the role of the lactase? Lactase is the enzyme which is responsible for the digestion of the lactose. Okay, you can see lactase is the enzyme which is responsible for the digestion of the lactose. What are the lactose? Lactose are the disaccharide which are rich in the dairy product. Lactose are the disaccharides which are rich in the dairy products, which are rich in the dairy product like the milk, yogurt, cheese. These are the dairy product. No, so while taking after taking those dairy product, what will happen? The lactose is the disaccharide. So lactose will be digested by the lactase enzyme, and the lactase enzymes are present in the intestinal membrane, brush border membrane, intestinal brush border membrane. But in one disease is there, that is called the lactose. There is a congenital deficiency of the lactase enzyme is present. There is a congenital deficiency of the lactase enzyme is present. That is called the lactose. That is called the, so because of what will happen? So in those patients, where there is a deficiency of the lactase enzyme, they are not able to digest the lactose. They are not able to digest the lactose. If they are not able to lactose, so what will happen? That produces the diarrhea. That produces the diarrhea. So in that condition, what can be done? Lactase, commercially prepared lactase is available. That is given. That is given. So what will happen? So when this lactase is given, what they causes? This lactase draws the water into GIT due to the osmosis and results the okay, sorry, low है ना. So you last line लाई चाहिँ गरिदिनु है, यसले चाहिँ डायरियालाई चाहिँ डिजल्भ गर्छ, यसले चाहिँ डायरियालाई चाहिँ डिजल्भ गर्छ इन ल्याक्टेज डिफिसियन्सी. सो ल्याक्टेज डिफिसियन्सीमा के हुन्छ भने okay, it is like that. Okay, it is like that. So in lactase deficiency, what will happen? What is the pathophysiology of the, okay, that is correct. Okay, so in lactase deficiency, what is the pathophysiology? So when lactase enzyme is absent, so lactose is not digested. So when the lactose is not digested, what will happen? So because of the osmosis process, lactose withdraws the water from the GIT intercellular cell to the extracellular cell, and for the extracellular membrane to the GIT lumen. That causes the diarrhea. So how that can be inhibited? That can be inhibited by giving the lactase enzyme. So while giving the lactase enzyme, what will happen? The lactose will be digested. That reduces the diarrhea. Okay, I will repeat it again. So what is the role of the lactase? Okay, what is the role of the lactase? So lactase is the enzyme which is required. Lactase is the enzyme that is required for the digestion of the lactose. So where the lactose are present? Lactose are the disaccharides which are present in the dairy product. Okay, so but in certain conditions, even once congenital disease is there, that causes the lactase deficiency. So in those patients, what will happen? Lactase deficiency, when the dairy food is taken, lactose is not digested. When the lactose is not digested, so what will happen? Because of the osmotic process, the lactose will produces the diarrhea. So how that is called the lactose intolerance. How that can be managed? By giving the lactase. So when the lactase is given exogenously, what will happen? They digest the lactose, so the diarrhea will be controlled. That's called the lactase. That's the role of the lactase. Okay, now that is clear. Okay, any confusion? Zinc, one tablet is there, that is called the zinc. That is commonly given among the children. So what is the role of the zinc in diarrhea in children, among the children? Role of the zinc in diarrhea among the children. So when the basically this zinc are given along with the oral rehydration solution. So what is the role when the zinc is given along with the oral rehydration solution? They reduces the frequency of the diarrhea, they reduces the duration of the diarrhea, and they reduces the severity of the diarrhea. The mechanism is not, antidiarrheal activity is not fully understood, but zinc is essential. What is the role of the zinc? They are essential for the protein synthesis, cell growth and the differentiation, immune response, and the intestinal transport of the water and the electrolyte. Okay, that is not required actually. Only remember that when the zinc are given, or the zinc tablet is given along with the oral rehydration solution, so what they will result? They reduces the frequency of the diarrhea, they reduces the duration of the diarrhea, and they reduces the severity of the diarrhea. Okay, these three things you have to remember. If the zinc is given along with the oral rehydration solution, they reduces the frequency of the diarrhea, they reduce the duration of the diarrhea, they reduces the severity of the frequency of the and the duration and the severity of the diarrhea. Mechanism of action is not fully understood. So usually one zinc tablet, the dose of the one zinc tablet is 20 milligram. When the age of the children is less than 6 months, so half tablet should be given for 10 to 14 days. Half tablet means 10 milligram. So we can say the 10 tablets for the 10 days or up to the 14 days. Or when the 6 months to 5 years, one full tablet, that is the 20 milligram tablet. So 20 tablets for the 10 to 14 days. Okay. So methods of giving the zinc tablet. Okay. Number one is this one is the zinc tablet. Okay. Take a small amount of the water in the spoon, teaspoon, small amount of the water in the teaspoon. Insert the zinc tablet there. Allow to dissolve the zinc tablet and give all the dissolved zinc tablet to the. Okay, so what's it should be given along with the Punarjaliazole Vanali, that's the oral rehydration solution. They should be given along with the oral rehydration solution. Zinc tablet should be given along with the oral rehydration solution. So why, if they are given, they reduces the frequency, duration, and the severity of the diarrhea. One tablet is of 20 milligram for the children less than 6 months. 10 milligram half tablet is a 10 milligram for the 10 to 14 days, and the 6 months to 5 years 20 milligram for 10 to 14 days. Methods of giving the zinc tablet: take a small amount of the water in the teaspoon, put zinc tablet according to the age of the children, let the tablet dissolve and give all the dissolved zinc to the tablet. Okay, last slide for the today. Okay, non-pharmacological measures for the treatment of the diarrhea. So what are the non-pharmacological? So I think you have already know about it. So number one is the proper rehydration. Okay. And the second is the maintain the personal hygiene. That is the hand washing. Maintain the personal hygiene. Third is the proper water sanitation. That is the drinking the safe water, clean water, and the safe water, and the proper disposal of the sewage. That's the proper water sanitation, and the avoidance of the carbonated soft drinks, tea, and the coffee during the diarrhea, because they causes the worsening of the disease. These are the non-pharmacological measures for treatment of the diarrhea. Okay, proper rehydration, maintain personal hygiene, hand washing, proper water sanitation, avoidance of the carbonated soft drinks, tea, and coffee during the diarrhea, that because they cause the worsening of the disease. Okay, so what is the important from this topic? In antidiarrheal drugs, the most important topic is the oral rehydration solution. Okay, oral rehydration solution. Their composition is the most important. What is the role of the glucose? What is the role of the glucose in oral rehydration solution? I think you have already get the slide. I will send this slide also today. Role of the glucose in the oral rehydration solution. WHO composition of the oral rehydration solution, and this is all. I think oral ORS is the most common in this antidiarrheal drug. Sometimes they may ask the multiple choice question from this antidiarrheal drugs, like what is the absorbent? Okay, multiple choice absorbent को नाम बना सकिन sir. Okay, loperamide. What is the opioid agonist? That is the loperamide. Okay, zinc tablet. Why the zinc tablets are given along with the ORS? Okay, that is also you can answer, and that is okay. Any question? I said, Rakesh Mishra.
Sir, we use orindazole and ofloxacin combination in diarrhea.
No, that is for the sorry. Which drug? Ciprofloxacin.
Ofloxacin and orindazole. No, ofloxacin and orindazole.
No, that is for the dysentery, not for the diarrhea. If the bacterial infection or the protozoal, if the diarrhea is associated with the bacterial infection, the protozoal infection, then we need to give. Because of the protozoal infection and the bacterial infection, Rakesh Mishra.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what was your question? So why this ofloxacin and this ornidazole, they are given for the treatment of the diarrhea. Actually, they are not given for the treatment of the diarrhea. If the bacterial infection, this streptococcus also produces bacterial infection of the GIT, that produces the diarrhea also. And this, if the protozoal infection, like this bacillary, this Entamoeba histolytica and the giardiasis, this Giardia lamblia, if they produces that, if their infection also produces the diarrhea. If that this bacterial and the protozoal infection is there, so for the bacterial infection we need to give the ofloxacin. Okay, and for this protozoal infection, if that produces the Entamoeba, this like Entamoeba histolytica and the Giardia lamblia, we need to give the ornidazole. Okay, is that clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other question? Okay, thank you. That's all for today, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.